Structured content is a way of planning and creating content so that it can be managed as a high-value business asset. It can be used across all of your content touchpoints for improved staff and user experiences while delivering better return on investment. That's why brands around the world are adopting structured content to handle their growing needs for scale, speed, multi-channel publishing, translation and localization, omni-channel personalization, and even contextualization. But what is structured content? I'm going to give you a friendly definition, some examples you're probably already familiar with, and some tips on how you can take advantage of it in your organization. To understand structured content, first we have to ask, what is content? People often understand content to mean words, documents, videos, or images. These are all different forms of recording thoughts or ideas. However, the definition of content is that which is contained. There is no content without a container. This may seem like a minor difference, but it completely changes how we approach the subject. Without containers, content is chaotic. With the right containers and a good content strategy, content processes are efficient and content is easier to create or consume. Containers are the difference between order and a tidal wave of stuff. The container is the difference between a stream of text and a news article, between a load of paragraphs and pictures and a useful recipe. I like to say the difference between structured content and unstructured content is the difference between working with clay or Lego. They're both creative media that you can use to make things, but there are key differences. Clay is totally freeform and unrestricted, but it's also messy. It's hard to reuse and hard to collaborate on. Once you've baked it, it becomes rigid. Lego blocks, on the other hand, comply with a standard. They're pieces that are designed to work with any other blocks from any other set of Lego. The blocks are not infinitely flexible, like clay, but did you know that just 6 8-stud blocks can be combined in nearly 1 billion ways? You can make things and then take them apart and reuse the pieces thousands of times in millions of ways. That makes it easy to mix, match, experiment, and collaborate when working with blocks. When you structure content, each container is a block, which can contain content. You can make one deliverable from your blocks, but then you can easily pull it apart again to make something new. You can make one person a race car, and then use the same pieces to make someone else a helicopter. With content blocks, you could take feature descriptions, definitions, product names, calls to action, and more. And you could reuse those to make white papers, product landing pages, email newsletters, blog posts, brochures, documentation, or more. You can make all the blocks you want as long as they fit the standard. That's why structured content is being used today to create everything from product content, content marketing, white papers, articles, ebooks, technical manuals and specifications, help and knowledge systems, custom emails and newsletters, and even learning materials. Multiple case studies show process efficiency improvements with structured content of many tens and even many hundreds of %. Now, how's that possible? It may seem like having to comply with a standard makes things hard or your content less flexible, but it's actually the exact opposite. Structured content defines what kinds of blocks are allowed, what type of content should go in the blocks, which blocks are required, and often the quantity and sequence blocks are allowed to be used in. What's important is that all this is defined separately from the end format that content might eventually appear in, like web, app, or PDF. Content design specialists think about all of your end touchpoints, end user needs, and channels when they help design your content standard. Then you know any content that complies with it works for many channels, audiences, and situations. Because it's a predetermined standard, the structure can be checked by a computer to give authors guidance on how to make sure their content fits your framework. That's opposed to what we usually do today, which is create content for one channel at a time without much guidance or automation. Then we manually rework it all for each new deliverable. This requires a huge effort to keep facts, templates, and messages consistent and up to date. With structure, people can just focus on getting great, concise, helpful content into the blocks. You may take more time to make them originally, but then you could save so much time by reusing them later. Structure keeps your content consistent across teams, projects, websites, and campaigns. You've got a framework that people can trust and use across various situations. When your content is created and managed in reusable blocks, it becomes a content asset. That can be reused for another channel or format, a different audience or geography, a sub-brand, a similar but not identical product, even some channel or situation you hadn't thought of when you first created it, like a smartwatch, an augmented reality headset, or even a chatbot. What is adaptive content?
According to Content Marketing Institute, adaptive content is a content strategy technique designed to support meaningful, personalized interactions across all channels.
That's because the blocks don't just contain content, they contain information about the content. We call this metadata, or more commonly just tags and tagging. Just like when you tag your photos on social media with details like people or location. You're adding extra bits of information to the content's container. Not the photo itself, but the social post. If you downloaded the photo, the tags would be gone. The post was the container that had the tags in it. Structured content carries all its tags with it wherever it goes. This makes it extremely powerful because those tags can be used by any computer system to intelligently process the content. Structured content is designed to be efficiently managed in your systems, support effective governance, and be adaptive to the end user's needs and preferences. This helps it support any end user experiences that your design teams can develop. Structure is friendlier to humans because it gives us consistent, concise, high-value content. It also allows machines to help deliver people exactly what they want on the channel of their choice. The secret is those nice predictable blocks and the tags they carry. Think about how much easier it is for you to look up something in a dictionary or an encyclopedia versus a particular place in a novel. That's structure making things simpler for you. There are probably dozens of content structures you already know about, but you don't even think about them. Consider the essays you wrote in school, a business plan, that French chicken recipe your mother-in-law sent you, that newspaper article on fiscal reform that you lied about reading, an email, a product catalog, a dictionary, a haiku, a sonnet, an encyclopedia, or a lesson plan. These are all sets of predetermined structural standards with their own rules. So it's not so hard or foreign if you think about it. Let's look at an example of structured content in action. If you want to cook some pancakes, you might search for a recipe online. However, today, you don't just get a page with a recipe on it. You get ratings, preparation times, calorie counts, and more right in the search engine results. That's because recipes that rank well are using an international metadata standard behind the scenes. That standard defines the main container, recipe, and also blocks within that for ingredients, instructions, nutritional value, and more. You can find recipes that don't use a standard, but these recipes usually don't rank as well, and they're more difficult to read. The structured ones are consistent, and they have best practices baked in. Get it? Because they comply with a shared standard. The standard in this case is called schema.org, and it's been agreed upon by search engines and platforms around the world. You can use schema.org or other public standards that meet your needs, but you can, and oftentimes should, create your own standard or extend public ones for your organization and the unique requirements and experiences you're trying to deliver. Organizations that create their own standard and implement it well often see hundreds of % improvement on several key user performance metrics like findability and engagement, while enjoying internal savings of 30 to over 50% on key internal processes. This is because they're using automation to assist with or sometimes replace otherwise manual processes like creation, reuse, finding what content you can reuse, review, translation, formatting and publishing, and processing for new channels. Today, with artificial intelligence, computers can even help tag the content according to your predefined categories, or to extract tags that the AI finds inside your content. So in summary, if you adopt international structure standards, you'll already benefit. But like many brands, you can design your own structures, your own special blocks. You can take existing standards, of which there are many like schema.org, XML, DITA, and JSON, and more, and layer them with your own business requirements so you get just what your business, your staff, and your users need. On this foundation, you can build an omni-channel strategy for as many teams and departments as you want. Everyone who participates is helping deliver an excellent, differentiating customer experience. Structure helps you integrate and maximize ROI from your content, design, governance, and systems, because it's ready to add end-user value in many different contexts. Your strategy may change over time, but if you manage your content as a reusable, structured asset, you can be flexible for whatever needs the future brings.
Okay, so people, did we get a little idea what is a structured content? Now, let's say whatever Word document thing that we are doing, all that comes under unstructured. Okay, I'll tell you how. In the structured content, what they are doing is, if you have seen this video carefully, they have compared it with what that they were comparing it, the structured and unstructured, remember? Lego. The blocks, right? The clay and the blocks. Now, they say that, and all the unstructured content is like a clay. You can once make it and then you cannot reuse it, right? Now, reusing doesn't mean copy and pasting. Reusing means that I can use that whole block somewhere. So remember that macros that we did, Now that is something which we are reusing. So we are kind of using that same thing wherever we want. So that can be there as a structured thing, but the entire document cannot be considered as structured. Because let's take an example. Let's say that we are talking about a bank. Okay. Now we are creating content where we want to talk about different functions of a bank. So what will be the different functions? If we talk about a bank, what are the different functions, people, for a bank? So when you open an account, what are the different things that happen? You withdraw, right? You save, right? There are saving accounts, current accounts, right? So all that information is there, right? So suppose we are writing a technical document on how to use an account or how to open an account. These are the steps, right? Now imagine that there is another content that you have to write wherein you just need the block which says how to withdraw. Okay, so maybe that particular block I want to use it. So if I will use the unstructured content, what will I have to do? I will have to copy paste from there. But in structured content, what happens? They create all this in a form of blocks, in the form of coding. So you can just use that block wherever you want. You can just call that block there, and that entire thing will be reused. So I hope you are getting the point. So the cost and timing, all that is reduced when you are using structured content. So nowadays, what is happening in several organizations, they are trying to convert from unstructured to structured. Now, how are they doing it? By using different tools. For example, there is data tool, then there is this frame maker. Okay, so all that we were talking that day, right? So all these are advanced tools that are being used to convert this unstructured to structured content. Got some idea, people? Did we get some idea? So basically, we are trying now. Remember those days when we used to use those registers? Those hard copy registers. Now slowly and steadily, what happened? Computers came into existence. So that time we actually promoted ourselves from the stereotypes register system to the computer system, right? So we kind of kept all the database in the computer. Right now, there is a change happening in the content field, talking about converting the unstructured one to structured one, so that in future, whenever I want to use it as a technical writer, as a product manager, I want to use certain code of structure, I can just call that particular block and use it. Okay, so that is why we are using these structured content. Now, a very good example he was taking about the photographs, right? Now, remember when in Facebook or anywhere you put a photograph, you actually have certain more information with it, right? Now that's called meta tags. So the extra information that is there, that's a meta tags or tag system. But if you just download the photo, then it becomes an unstructured content. So structured content will be a thing which will have all the information which can be reused. Now there is one more video. Here they are talking about the basic difference between unstructured and structured, something which is an extension to what you saw just now. So just have a look on that as well. Just playing it up. Okay, I hope it is visible. It says difference between structured and unstructured. Okay.
Hi, I'm Bernard Ma, and in this video I want to look at the difference between structured and unstructured data. As someone that helps companies make better use of their data and find the right data sources to drive their performance, I very often find myself having to explain the difference. So let's look at this in very simple terms. Structured data basically gives it away in the name. There's a structure to this data. And this is the data we have relied on throughout most of history when we think about data. Things like, I can count people and I can say how many people live in this country, and you can put them country, people, you can put them in rows and columns. I can look at financial data. So how many iPhones has Apple sold per quarter? And you put this again into a nice table like an Excel spreadsheet where you have rows and columns, or even something like a multi-dimensional database where you have lots of different fields, but you can still associate them with this. So you can look at maybe 3-4 dimensions. So look at iPhone sales, by region, by time, by product type. So they're different dimensions, but they're all predefined fields. Unstructured data, on the other hand, is something I can't simply put into something like an Excel spreadsheet. Think about an email or the content of an Instagram message or a photograph or a video footage. So these are things that are very complex, and I can't easily reduce them to a small number of fields. Actually, 80 to 90% of all the data in the world is what we would refer to as unstructured data. So they are those email messages, those social media posts and photographs. And in the past, we basically had no real way of analyzing this data. So we discarded this information and focused on the data we can easily count and put into fields. If you think about a survey, that's a good example. So let's think about a customer satisfaction survey. What we tended to do is to do multiple choices because we have predefined fields. We can put them into a table and analyze them. Or I ask something like a net promoter score. So how likely are you to recommend us to a friend? It starts at 1, goes to 10. Those numbers I can then easily analyze. But actually, do I get the richest insights from this information? I get some interesting data, but actually what I also want to ask is an open question. What do you particularly like about us as a company or our product? What do you think we could do better? And this is now giving us an open-ended question. So anyone replying to the survey can put in anything into this box, and therefore it becomes unstructured data. And lots of companies shy away from this, saying, actually, how do I analyze this data? Nowadays, there are tools available to do this for us. So in the past, we had to basically hand code this. So if you have 100 replies to your open-ended question, you then go through this and say, how many of them are talking about how it handles, how many of them are talking about the features, how many talk about the brand. Nowadays, you can use artificial intelligence and advanced analytics to do this analysis for you. So companies like Facebook are doing this, where they analyze Facebook comments and posts. And their automated systems understand what you're talking about. They will understand the sentiment, even your mood. And all this can be automated. In the same way, companies like Google have made huge advances in image recognition technology. So they now have artificial intelligence algorithms that can automatically detect what or who is on a photograph. So suddenly this, what we thought was data we couldn't really analyze in the past, now becomes really useful. And I would argue that the most insightful data is actually this unstructured data, because we can get much more insights, we can understand so many more dimensions. And actually, those lines between structured and unstructured data are a little bit blurred, because I would argue that most data sets nowadays are what I call semi-structured data. So they are unstructured data, like a photograph, but they still have components of structured data. So if I take, let's say I send an email, and this email has 500 words in it. This is all unstructured, but the structured data is, when was this email sent? Who was it sent to? Which company does this belong to? In the same way for photographs, if I take a photograph on a digital device, I now have this time-stamped, device-stamped, geo-stamped, so it will then attach some metadata to it, saying this is the location, the time and device, when this data was taken, and where this data was taken, and by what device. So actually, most data sets are now semi-structured. But it has implications of how we store and use this data too. So structured data, we would usually store in what we call a relational database, or even an Excel spreadsheet. But if we have more dimensions, we would put this into a relational database. Whereas unstructured data would usually sit in something like a data lake that hasn't got any structure. So we basically store all our photographs in our iCloud library, and then we use artificial intelligence to say, I want to see all my photographs that contain this person, they contain a dog, and then the AI, the artificial intelligence, will analyze all of these photos and extract the important information. Hopefully this clarifies the difference between structured and unstructured data.
Okay, so people, did you understand? He has given a lot of examples to explain. Did we understand that? Okay, okay. All right, now HTML you would have heard of, right? So what is that basically? What do we do in HTML? So basically HTML is for tagging. So if you, if you have kind of used it, it is like for, suppose I want to give the heading header 1 as this, header 2 as this. So we have some predefined tags, H1, H2 like this. And there is a coding format that it follows, and you have to write that code in Notepad and all, and then you run it. Okay, and that's how your Internet Explorer page is created, and you can just have the look of it. So that you can try at home also. You can just put these snippets of HTML and try them. Now that is HTML. But when we talk about the structured content, there is one more thing which says XML. So I hope the screen is visible, people, which says XML, Introduction to XML. Yeah. Now both the languages are markup languages. That is, both are the tools for designing the content. However, XML is the extensible markup language. It means here I am not using the predefined tags. I am using my own tags. So I have the liberty to use my own tags. I can actually prepare the whole content through tags for whatever kind of information I want to put. Okay, so in structured content, we use XML language. Even, when you have these, the website that you have where you see your assignments, right? So now if you go into internal coding, you will find that those are XML based. Okay, so all the, basically all the websites and all, if you, if there is an error or something, so that error file comes in the form of XML. So all that coding comes in XML. Okay, so that is the use of it. Now see, it says that it's a markup language used to provide information about a document. Tags are added to provide extra information. So remember, we were talking about the meta tags and all. So all that information in the form of XML, it is put. Now HTML just give you the display idea. It doesn't give you the actual content. It just give you the presentation. Whereas XML actually works on the content. Okay. So that's the difference. Now, XML is a meta language that allows you to create and format your own document markups. That means you can create your own documents based upon your own tags. That is the function of XML. And why we use XML? Because it creates a structured content. Okay, so whenever we want to create a structured content, we use XML. So it is easy to read, it is unambiguous, extensible means you can reuse it, and platform independent as well. So this XML code, you can run it in any platform. You don't need it. For example, if it is a PDF, you need an Adobe Reader, right? If you don't have Adobe Reader on your system, can you run that? You will not be able to see the content. Or else if you do not have MS Office on your system, you cannot see the doc files. But then XML files are platform independent. They just have an executable file which you can run. Okay, so that's how these are the advantages of XML. XML documents are used to transfer data from one place to other over the internet. So they basically use the internet to transfer. So if you have Internet Explorer, you can easily run the pages. Now, HTML tags have a fixed meaning and browser. So they have fixed meaning, whereas XML tags can be different based upon different applications that you have. HTML is only used for display, whereas XML is used to describe the document and data. So this is basically the difference. Now, this is again a very common question that is asked. As a technical writer, maybe they will ask you the difference between HTML and XML also. So you should be aware of certain things, that here the tags and attributes are predetermined. So we can just use those kind of which are available. Whereas in XML, I have, you can create your own attributes, your content, all that can be done. Here, the HTML represents the presentation structure, whereas XML actually talks about the logical structure. That means what is the content, how we'll put the headings, what will come under what. So that nesting structure, everything will be part of XML. Okay, and here syntax is normally defined, so that will be there. It will take less space because it is, it is platform independent, so it takes less space also. And it can be displayed in any of the formats. So it can be displayed as HTML also, as for CD, for DVD, for I like it is platform independent. It can be modularized. That means you can put it in different modules so that you can reuse it. So that's the advantage of using XML. So see, these are certain list of advantages. Truly portable because it is platform independent, easily readable by human users, very expressive because it has all structured data, flexible and customizable. So it's not that, if there is a scope of change here. So that means why we are using structured content, because remember we were talking about the software updations. Now, if you work on unstructured content, you will again have to go to that code, change it that ways. Otherwise, if you are using this XML, the documentation can be changed using the XML based, wherein you can just reuse that content and your life becomes easy. So flexible it is. It can have the scope of changes in future. Easy to use from programs. So the kind of the working of the XML is very, very easy. You can actually download the free trial version of XML Oxygen Editor. There is a tool, XML Oxygen Editor. I think I'll send you the tutorial. So therein, if you follow that, you will actually be able to do the XML coding. It's very easy. You just have to follow the syntax and you have to do that. And it's easy to convert into other representations. That means you can actually convert it. Additional standards and tools. There are so many additional features in XML that you can use. And that is why it is widely used and supported. Now, this is a very generic code of HTML that you see here. So if people have used HTML, they would understand. So we start with the tag HTML. Whatever open tag you have, you should have a closing tag as well. So for example, this one here, when there is a root element HTML, I have a closing tag for HTML as well. If I do not have, this will create a error. Okay. Again, if I have a body, then I have to have a closing / body. This is the syntax that we follow. So this is the main heading. That is the title that they have put. Then under body, you have this as a heading 1, this as a heading 2. And then, so this is a basic structure of HTML document. Now, this is for the XML document. So this is the version. So once you have this XML editor on your system, you will have this kind of syntax. Then you can start with, so here they have put the root element as address. Then they have closed it also. And under address, we have 4 fields: name, email, phone, and birthday. Remember an Excel sheet? How does it work? So there is a main title, and then under it, there are so many attributes, right? So you can imagine that. So this is an Excel wherein these 4 are the different column names. Now in name, the first name that I want to cover is Alice Lee. So that I have written. Then I have the email ID, the phone number, the birthday. Okay, now let's say that you want one more address. So you can again open address 2 and then you can write all these details, right? So again, you can have as many blocks as you want. So this is how it works. It says the part of an XML document that precedes the XML data. So this is the kind of declaration. So this is again a coding portion. Maybe you will not understand right now, but this is the syntax that is there for XML. Okay. Tags are basically used to specify a name. So whatever information you are using, all that is called as tag in XML and HTML. So here a tag consists of opening and closing. So we have an opening and then we have a closing /, right? That's how it works. So here, if you see, the attribute name is employee name. So we call it as a tag and then we have a closing tag as well. Okay. See this one. It will always have a root element. That's what I was telling you, that there'll always be a root element for it. And then under that, you can have certain things. Okay. Elements are extensible. That means you can have, it can carry more information in future if you want. They have relations. So again, a nested structure is possible in this. Okay. All the elements can have content in it. But then the rules should be followed. So the basic syntax you will have to follow. And then you can work upon it. So like this one here, the root element is book name, and under book name, the value is the painted house. So in the output, you will see the painted house. This is the output for the book name. These are the attributes that they have shown. It will be located in the start tag, provide additional information, and it will be enclosed in quotes. Okay, so that's how it is done, like this one. So these are again the syntaxes that have been given. Once you start using them, you will then understand it better. So so all those entities that you see, That's called DTD, document type definition. So here again, like this one. So here we are using the Times of India as the value, and then possibly other things, right? So this is how it works. Again, these are all coding parts. We'll not go into this one. Okay, now this is the structure that you see. So the XML, we have the XML. So this is one part, this is second, and this is how it communicates. So one XML adapter with the other, and how it is communicating. That's what it has been shown here. Okay, again, some scenarios. See, so here if you see what is the root element here in this one? Article is the root element. Under article, I have section ID, I have title, and then this is the information given, and this section is done. Now again, we have another section, see? So all the under one article, we have different sections. So this is how this coding is done. So every root element will have its closing, and then again, the nested structure is possible. So with the XML. Now see this one, it also have the sections, cross reference, index, name entry. So whatever you do in your Word document, everything is possible in this one also, just that we have to do the XML coding in this one. Okay, so we have elements, we have attributes, and then we have the elements will be the ones which you see with the slashes. The attributes will be the values that you have. So here see article, and then we have author, title, and text. And then again, all the like author is one of the attributes, and then it is closed, then title, then we have a text. And for that whole text, I have abstract. So see, this is how we work. Remember, when we have our document, so the first thing is the author and the title, right? So that is given here in the form of XML. Then the next thing is our abstract. So we have written this. Whatever you will write inside this will be the thing that will be typed, will be printed there under abstract. Then you have the title here, and then so on. So all the introduction. So this one is heading 1. See, section number 1, introduction. So this is how you have to do the entire coding in the XML. Now you might feel that, you know, it was easy in Word. Why to go for XML? Because it was easy to work on Word. But in the long term, if you see from the content perspective, structured content is something which can be reused, you know, the less cost is involved, and that is why we use that. Okay, so same thing is there, but then it is in the form of blocks, in the form of coding. Now see, these are certain things. These are tags, article, abstract, author. These are all tags. This is the starting tag, text, and then we have the end tag, /text. Okay, this is the entire content of the element, and this is particular element we are talking about. Okay, now these are the attributes, the things that you see, the exact value. So attributes will have their name and value. So this attribute name is section number, value is 1. Second attribute name is title, value is introduction. So this is how it works. Okay. All right, so these are all same things they have just given. So see, this is kind of nested structure. So for example, if we are talking about article, there could be author, title, and text. Under author, you will have some values. Title you will have. Then under abstract, you will have certain things. Under section, you can have headings, right? Heading 1, heading 2, and then probably you can have the other things, right? So this is how it works. So it's a well-formed document, but then there are certain rules that you have to follow. Every starting tag should have an end tag. Elements should nest but not overlap. So that overlapping should not be there. So you will have to see in the coding that doesn't happen. All the structures have one root element. Attributes should be quoted. So see, remember here. So the value of that should always have a double inverted comma. So this is the syntax for this. Elements may not have two attributes with the same name. So same name, again, it can create confusion. So it should not have same names. Like in the Excel sheet, we do not have 2 columns of the same name, right? Same is the thing. Comments and processing instructions may not appear. So that would not be there. Now see, these are certain things. One is DTD that I was telling you. So it was for establishing the vocabulary. So whatever definition you give inside, that's the term that we give is DTD for that entire XML. So document is valid with respect to a DTD if it conforms to the rules specified. So if it will match the rules, then only it will be accepted. Now see, again, content of the title. So here is the title content. Then we have in the green one, it is showing the elements. Like element is a title followed by one or more author elements. And then in the blue, it is showing the content. So this is how the structure goes. Okay. Again, the coding part, element name, attribute types. Now, as people from the software background could understand that there are certain types that you have to mention, that whether it is numeric, alphanumeric, there are certain codes that you have to use. So obviously you will have to have that knowledge to work on that, right? So these are certain attribute types, how it works. Okay, again, it's showing the blue and green, the root element, the keywords, and the basically the URL that has been used. Okay, now what could be the flaws? So there is so it can be a little complex at times, so you will have to work on this. Okay, so this was a little thing that I wanted you to just have a look. Now these are the applications of XML where XML can be used. So there are so many places where we use it in database, we use in mathematical markup, document markup, messages, meta content. So basically we use it everywhere where we need a structured content. Okay, so that's how it works. Basically when you will start using the tools, then you'll have a better idea.